Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradari Yasodhanandana Brajanana Ranjana Yasodhanandana Brajanana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Vallabha Girivaradari Jaya Gopi Vallabha Girivaradari Yasodhanandana Brajanana Ranjana Yasodhanandana Brajanana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Kadamba Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jai Prabhupada. Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Shri Prabhupada ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. This ceremony? Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd Canto, Chapter 19, The Killing of the Demon Hiranyaksha. Text 31. Maitreya Uvacha Evam Hiranyaksham Masaya Vikramam Sasada Yitva Hari Adi Sukraha Jagamalokam Samakanditutsavam Samidita Puskara Vistara Divi Maitre Uvacha Evam Hiranyaksham Masaya Vikramam Sasada Yitva Hari Adi Sukraha Jogamalokam Swamakanditotsavam Samidita Puskara Vistara Divi Ladies. Maitreya Uvacha. Sri Maitreya said, Evam, thus, Hiranyaksha, Asaya Vikramam, very powerful, Saha, the Lord, Sadayitva, after killing, Hari, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Adi Sukaraha, the origin of the boar species, Jagama, returned, Lokam, to his abode, Swam, own, Akandita, uninterrupted, Utsavam, festival, Samiditaha, being praised, Puskaravistara, lotus seat, by Lord Brahma, whose seat is a lotus, Adibi, and the others. Translation. Sri Maitreya continued. After thus killing the most formidable demon, Hiranyaksha, the Supreme Lord Hari, the origin of the boar species, returned to his own abode, where there's always an uninterrupted festival. The Lord was praised by all the demigods, headed by Brahma. Purport. The Lord is spoken of herewith as the origin of the boar species. As stated in the Vedanta Sutra 112, the absolute truth is the origin of everything. Therefore, it is to be understood that all 8,400,000 species of bodily forms originate from the Lord, who is always Adi, or the beginning. In the Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna addresses the Lord as Adyam, or the original. Similarly, in Brahma Samhita, the Lord is described as Adi Purusham, the original person. Indeed, in Bhagavad Gita 10.8, the Lord himself declares Mata Sarvam Pravartate, from me everything proceeds. In this situation, the Lord assumed the shape of a boar to kill the demon Hiranyaksha and pick up the earth from the Garbha ocean. Thus he became Adi Sukara, the original boar. In the material world, a boar or pig is considered most abominable, but the Adi Sukara, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, was not treated as an ordinary boar. Even Lord Brahma and the other demigods praised the Lord's form as a boar. This verse confirms the statement in Bhagavad Gita that the Lord appears as he is from his transcendental abode for the sake of killing the miscreants and saving the devotees. By killing the demon Hiranyaksha, he fulfilled his promise to kill the demons and always protect the demigods headed by Brahma. The statement that the Lord returned to his own abode indicates that he has his own particular transcendental residence. Since he is full of all energies, he is all-pervasive in spite of his residing in Goloka Vrindavan. Just as the sun, although situated in a particular place within the universe, is present by its sunshine throughout the universe. Although the Lord has his particular abode in which to reside, he is all-pervasive. The impersonalists accept one aspect of the Lord's features, the all-pervasive aspect, but they cannot understand his localized situation in his transcendental abode, where he always engaged in fully transcendental pastimes. Especially mentioned in this verse is the word akanditutsavam. Utsava means pleasure. Wherever some function takes place to express happiness, it's called utsav. Utsava, the expression of complete happiness, is always present in Vaikuntha Loka, the abode of the Lord, who is worshipable even by demigods like Brahma, to say nothing of others, less important entities such as human beings. The Lord descends from his abode to this world, and therefore he is called Avatar, which means one who descends. Sometimes Avatar is understood to refer to an incarnation who assumes a material form of flesh and bone. But actually Avatar refers to one who descends from higher regions. The Lord's abode is situated far above this material sky, and he descends from that higher position. Thus he is called Avatar. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Gyanandana Salakaya Shakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Sri Guruve Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So the explanation of that expression in the verse of the words akanditotsav. Akandita is referring to eternal, right? Akanda means without any end. It is incessantly carrying on. And then utsava is translated as the expression of complete happiness. So that is very, very nice. The word is often translated as festival, but now to translate it as an expression of complete happiness, that defines what a festival is, and that a real festival is an expression of complete happiness. I find it quite striking, and really, if I would underline anything, I would definitely underline this one, although I don't underline in Prabhupada's books, because who am I to underline? And, when I think that something is outstanding, then I make the mistake by by not realizing that every word of the Bhagavatam is outstanding, and that it's just my lack of realization to be able to see that. Therefore, I don't think I should underline things. But this Akandita Utsava is something that speaks to my heart, because to look upon a festival as a complete expression of happiness is something, that's wonderful. I've seen so many festivals. I mean, every year we are celebrating this King's Day, and people are there and they're trying to celebrate, but they don't know how. And that is what we see every year. You know, we see like all these people, and they're walking around with beer and things to smoke and who knows what else, and it's just a rowdy scene. You know, the street is filled with these rowdy people, and they don't know how to celebrate. Right? Then you see at the place where we're boarding the bus, there's usually some concerts there, and just near to there. And then you see these heavy demoniac things going on. There's this super intense, heavy music with like heavy beats and screaming instruments, extremely loud, and then some lead singer is screaming his head off, and then next to him, suddenly from a few pipes, big flames are shooting out, you know, some burning gas, just to create an effect, you know, festival, wow, big flames, wow, big noise, wow. And meanwhile, ambulances are the whole day working overtime, driving through the city to pick people up who had a bit too much of festival, if you know what I'm talking about. So what kind of festivals are those? Right? Those are not festivals at all, right? But to actually look at a festival like a complete expression of happiness, that is wonderful. And that is a spiritual festival. And that is the nature of the spiritual world. And that is where the spiritual world descends in this movement, in that festival. And this is what we are doing. We are creating such festivals. Just like book distribution is also part of such a festival. There are different ways of distributing a book. One is like a salesman, right? Put this smile, you know, that cannot be wiped off by anything, and just try and sell the book in that way. But better still is if we can sell the book by glorifying the book. Right? That is that we learn from the experts. And if we glorify the book, then it becomes that expression of happiness, because the book is the source of happiness. These books are condensed happiness. Sometimes the purports of Srila Prabhupada are being referred to, but Prabhupada said, these are my transcendental ecstasies. Right? These are not just ordinary written words, but these are just deep meditations on Krishna and on Krishna's wonderful qualities. And the more we meditate on Krishna, the more amazing it is. Here Krishna is described as Adi Sukara, the original boar. Right? And then in the purport, Srila Prabhupada mentions that actually Krishna is the origin of all species. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur is actually mentioning that Krishna appears in all species. 8,400,000 species, and Krishna takes forms on the eternity of time, right? In all these species. It's quite something. So Krishna is truly the origin of all species. He's not just the origin of everything, the ultimate cause, the sarva karana karanam, the ultimate cause of all causes, right? But then we see that he's also the steps in between, right? He's the origin, the original cause of everything. But then he takes a step in between and manifests himself like the original boar, right? And the sublimated boar. Boars are kind of, well, in India, you live very close to these things, right? Boars are walking in the street and you see them, and they smell and they eat all kinds of abominable things, and the things I haven't seen boars do. One, of course, you see as you go in Vrindavan to the bus station, to the bus stand, as it is called, bus stand. When you go to the bus stand by rickshaw early in the morning, it takes you through some area which is not very wealthy, and there you see children in the morning sitting and passing stool. And there's a whole row, somehow or other they do it together. And they all have a stick. They all have a stick, they all sit there outside passing stool and have a stick in their hand because they know the boars like hot breakfast. No, it is like that. It's true. This is something you can see. So boars, what boars do not eat. I have once seen a boar. There was a dead dog lying in the street, somehow or other. And this boar, in one bite, ate half the dog. And I go, whoa, half in one bite. So, boars, I keep an eye on my boars. Of course, Germany also has its boars. I saw a video clip last year of a particular area with nudists. There was a man who was naked, and he was in a forest, or the edge of a forest, and then suddenly this boar came, and the boar stole his bag, but his computer was in the bag. So the boar ran off with his computer, and then the man, naked, ran after, and nowadays everyone has a phone, so people were filming it, and it made it on, our favorite or not so favorite social media platform. I happened to see it. I go like, look at that material world. Anyway, so boars, right? Boars are not considered elevated species. But when we are looking at the Supreme Lord, he elevates any position. And although the Lord, in a playful way, took that form of the boar to lift the earth from a dark position, the lower regions of the universe, and to lift it up, and therefore, in this playful way, he took the form of a boar. Still, the Lord, everything about Lord Boar is wonderful. And that is what Lord Brahma shows. Now, we heard that the Lord returned to his eternal abode. Now, is there a planet where the Lord eternally has this form as a boar? Is it? No, that is a planet where the Lord manifests the four-armed Vishnu form. But he takes this particular boar in his pastimes in dealing with Hiranyaksha. But in his eternal abode, he takes, for convenience sake, his four-armed Vishnu form. So to continue his eternal transcendental pastimes. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, we find descriptions about the Vaikuntha planets. And it's interesting because we know from Bhagavatam that in Vaikuntha the living beings all have 4 arms, just like the Supreme Lord, and they look exactly like the Supreme Lord. The only difference is this Srivatsa, this little golden streak of hair there on the chest of the Lord. But that's not all there's to it. According to the Srimad Bhagavatam, we also hear that in Vaikuntha, the living, those eternally liberated souls, they have mystic powers. And they also take other forms. So although they have an original 4-armed form, they also take other forms for the pleasure of the Lord. So some become sages, right? Some they may have different forms, and in this way they use all their expansions also in Vaikuntha, right? They may have simultaneous forms as well. So Vaikuntha is also quite an exciting place if we think about it, all to increase the expression of happiness. And this is our devotional service. We share our happiness about the glories of Krishna and the glories of Krishna's devotees. And in this way, we are really doing something nice. A material party is about satisfying the senses, but it doesn't bring any lasting benefit. In fact, it's not beneficial at all. Rather, it entangles people in all kinds of sinful, destructive activities that will bring suffering in the future. But here, in the transcendental activities, we celebrate and make advancement, and we are increasing the celebration of the glories of the Lord into this world. And that is it. The pujari is dressing the deities in the spirit of creating a festival. Each time it is like a wonderful arrangement, and everyone is amazed. Wow, look at this. What are we having today? Big tulsi garland, yes. And some sort of crown come helmet, right? Quite something. And with bows, not bows and arrows, but bows, how you stricken, or so what, behind. So many arrangements to celebrate the festival of the Supreme Lord, His amazing glories. And therefore it is said that there is nothing, there's no limit to what we can offer to the Supreme Lord. Nothing can limit that, what we can offer. Unlimited, wonderful offerings can be made to the Lord. It is said in the same way to the spiritual master, who is the representative of the Lord. But the difference is that the Lord may accept everything, whereas the spiritual master may refuse some things. When Lord Chaitanya was acting as a spiritual master and Jagadananda Pandit came and offered him scented oil, then Lord Chaitanya said, "Oh, you brought these pots with scented oil, how nice. We can take them to the temple of Lord Jagannath and offer them to the deities. And they can burn them in the lamps of the deities, and that will give a very nice fragrance for the temple." And but Jagadananda didn't want that. Jagadananda had brought this oil for the massage of the Lord. But Lord Chaitanya said, "No, but how can I accept it? I'm a sannyasi. I cannot start massaging myself or be massaged with scented oil, right? And walk around all perfumed. That's not a sannyasi's business, right? no, how can I accept this? And then Jagadananda, just offer it to the deities in the temple. Jagadananda took the pots with oil, went to the courtyard of the house and smashed them on the ground. And when Lord Chaitanya and others went to look what happened, then Jagadananda said, there was no oil. And then he just went home and he refused to eat. He was fasting. And it was quite difficult. So finally, after days of fasting, Lord Chaitanya is looking like he's still not eating. What are we going to do about it? So then Lord Chaitanya told Govinda, his servant, you go ask Jagadananda to cook for me. So Jagadananda, that he did. Right? He came and he cooked for the Lord. And then Lord Chaitanya told Govinda, now give him my remnants. And he could not disregard the remnants of the Lord, because that's like pure mercy. So he had to take that. So in this way, Lord Chaitanya arranged that he would break his fast. Anyway, in that particular pastime, Jagadananda is approaching Lord Chaitanya as the Supreme Lord, and therefore doesn't care about his sannyas. And although he knows very well what the codes of sannyas are, saying, no, you are not limited by this sannyas, you are transcendental, you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Right? Whereas Lord Chaitanya was acting as an acharya. This is in the Madhya Lila of Chaitanya Charitamrita, and Lord Chaitanya is acting. No, it was actually an Antya Lila of Chaitanya Charitamrita, but it's still the pastimes, the beginning of Antya Lila, where he's acting as an acharya, and also in the Madhya Lila. So, as an acharya, he sets the standards, right, and very strict standards for sannyas. And Jagadananda, again, on various occasions, had other ideas. When Lord Chaitanya would sleep on the ground, just on the ground, didn't want to use anything else, just slept on the ground, then Jagadananda didn't like it. It's too hard, so he made a mattress. And then Lord Chaitanya looks at like a mattress. What's a mattress? And then Jagadananda. Who was the one who intervened? Someone intervened. Swarup Damodar intervened. Yeah, the personal secretary. And Swarup Damodar then said, "Well, it is getting cold, so maybe it's a good idea, but." Then they made something of Jagadananda's shredded leaves. He shredded leaves with his nails, and then he made some sort of mattress, put a cloth around that, and made some sort of thing to lie on to give a little insulation from the cold ground. Yeah. So, but still very renounced, just leaves. Right? It was interesting to see how Lord Chaitanya set a standard for sannyas, and at the same time how Jagadananda was looking at him from a transcendental platform. Yes. So because Lord Chaitanya is Bhakta Rupa, is acting out the role of a devotee, he shows that in that form, now in that manifestation as a devotee, he cannot accept everything. Right? As the Supreme Personality of Godhead, there is no limit. Of course, yes, sinful things he will not accept, but no limit to otherwise what we can offer to the Lord. Scents and oils and jewels and name it. Whatever beautiful arrangement. Some people, they are very expert, and they cut fruits like works of art, right? And they almost carve like something out of the fruit. And you see like a pineapple cut in a particular way, a melon becomes a basket, right? And it's like nicely filled with all kinds of things, and it's just amazing what devotees do, right? You look at like, wow, what an offering! Look at that. That is a festival for the eyes, right? So others are singing and and bringing instruments and making it really something like that. Let us. There's no limit to the opulence in the worship of the Lord. In the Hari Bhakti Vilas, it is mentioned that the deity should be placed on a throne. And it said the deity should be worshipped just like a king, like in royalty. And when the deity is on the throne, then he should be made offerings that are very opulent, just like we would worship a king, or more so, right? Just more opulent. In Dwarka, Krishna was more opulent than any king of this world. There was no limit to the opulence in Dwarka. It was extraordinary. No one had ever seen such great opulence. Not only are very opulent offerings made, but simply looking at the glorious qualities of Krishna and describing the qualities of Krishna, or looking at the glorious activities of Krishna, right? And exploring the glories of the activities of Krishna. This is ever fresh. I joined Krishna consciousness in Vrindavan, then stayed there for some time, then left and to go to Europe. And as I was going to Europe, I became very ill. I got jaundice, and then I was so ill that for a little while I stayed outside the temple, right, to get some medical care, because I thought I'm gonna die here. It felt terrible. So then, after when I got a little better, then I moved back into the temple, and then I came to the temple, and then as I came to the Amsterdam temple, and because I was in Holland at the time, and so then I wanted to stay in the Amsterdam temple, so I had to wait for the temple president, who wasn't there in his office. So I was sitting there waiting on a chair, and one devotee gave me a magazine to read, a Back to Godhead, and he said, "Here, read this." And I said, "Oh, I already read that, And he said, "Oh, in Krishna consciousness, we read it again and again." That's what he said, He was a senior devotee, so I took that as an instruction. So I sat there waiting for that temple president, who didn't come until the evening. And I was sitting there the whole day on that chair, reading the Back to Godhead magazine, the same one, over and over. And that's what I did. And it was quite something, because I gained some realization. See, let me backtrack a little bit. Prior to joining a temple, I made a connection with the devotees, and I had two books. One was, I had a Bhagavad Gita, and at one point I also had a Krishna book. But that Krishna book I didn't like so much, because that Krishna book, I thought, it wasn't exciting, because I thought every time there's a demon, and then, so many times, 1, 2, 3, and Krishna just finishes off the demon. There's no plot in this book, it's not one of those books where you want to look at the last page, like, who won, Krishna or the demon, right? So I didn't like it, because I was used to those kind of books, where you just never know who wins, the villain or and you have to look at the end like, oh God, who was the murderer or something, right? But then, when I read this magazine the whole day, from morning to night, right, then I had a realization that it wasn't about reading a new story, or it wasn't about it wasn't about that at all. It was about the detail. It was about the detail. There was unlimited detail. And as I kept on reading, I found more and more detail. And as I found more and more detail, I found more and more amazing things about Krishna. So, in the same way, this morning, I was a little busy, and then I was listening to a lecture for a while, and I forgot the time a little bit. And it was actually a lecture about Govardhan, which I started yesterday. Burijan Prabhu was giving this lecture about Govardhan, the Govardhan pastime, and he was just reading from the 10th canto of Bhagavatam and commenting on the verses, and with nice things he had researched, very well prepared lectures. And it was just the whole Govardhan Leela, which I heard so many times and read so many times, etc. But it was just so nice to hear. And so Krishna was under the hill, and then Burijan Prabhu was saying, yes, there is this. Then we see a painting where Krishna is sitting on the Govardhan hill, eating yogurt, and that Balaram and Nanda Maharaj are lifting the hill, right? Yes, of course, Balaram lifting the hill. Right? So Balaram was holding it for a little while Krishna was having a little yogurt. And then Burijan said, so is this bona fide? And then he mentions how Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur confirms this pastime. And in this way, very nice. And then he described that, yes, the residents of Vrindavan, for 7 days, they were under that hill, just looking at Krishna holding up the hill. So, there was not much action in that sense, he was just holding up the hill, for 7 days. So, it wasn't that Krishna and Balaram start throwing the hill around, and that Krishna at one point says, hey, Bal, catch the ball, and throws Govardhan hill for some and then you get a beautiful catch, something like frisbee throwing, No, so didn't it get a little bit boring, 7 days the same? But no, it didn't. For the residents of Vrindavan, it was more and more wonderful because there was more and more detail that they were looking at. And actually, they were very happy because they got so much close association with Krishna, which usually they never got like that. Usually Krishna, they'd see Krishna in the village, they'd see him, of course, they'd be with him, this, that, the cowherd boys would go out in the forest, but then at night Krishna would go home and so on. But this time, all the residents of Vrindavan had 7 days and nights the continuous association of Krishna. So they were so happy. It was never like that. It was special. It was a special festival, a festival for the eyes. Now they could continuously look at Krishna. And as they looked at Krishna, it wasn't that they were getting bored. No, they were getting more and more excited. It's like, how long can we look at something material? And Burijan Prabhu also said, if you have something material and you love it, if you have to do it for 24 hours, the same thing, then, you can't, you start hating it, right? So get rid of this thing, had enough of it, right? But the attraction only increased, right? more and more. And just looking at Krishna was a festival, was a celebration. The eyes just drinking in the form of Krishna. And so on and so on. In this way, the celebration of Krishna consciousness is like that. Every day, the same Mahamantra. No, it's not the same Mahamantra. It's every day a new Mahamantra. Or maybe you chant a new mantra, but I'm chanting the same Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. No, but the dimensions are growing. The dimensions of our attachments are growing. As we are doing service for Krishna, we bring that service back to the mantra. And so we chant the mantra with renewed attachment. As we hear about Krishna and his pastimes, we get different insights, and we are in this way bringing that back to the mantra. So over time, we bring more and more back to the chanting of the mantra. And so we are getting a new experience of the mantra and perceive it totally fresh. And we begin to realize more and more the mercy of this mantra is unlimited. All the features of this mantra, there's no limitation to it. Last night, I was speaking a little bit about humility and why humility is a prerequisite for the chanting of Hare Krishna. Because when there's humility, then we can appreciate how the holy name is just unlimited mercy, how Krishna is a reservoir of mercy. And if we are appreciating that Krishna is a reservoir of mercy and that the holy name is a reservoir of mercy, then we can chant in gratitude. And when we can chant in gratitude, right, then we can just chant the mantra again and again, and with each mantra we appreciate more how wonderful this mantra is. Whereas one can also chant 64 rounds as an austerity, right? And if one chants 64 rounds as an austerity, then it's like, okay, 32, midway. Okay, 40, okay. 48, the end is inside, okay. 60 rounds, the last 4 is a breeze, you know what I mean? After all this, I'll just chant those 4 on the momentum of the rest, 64, done, Whew. That was a yagya, right? But I did it. Very satisfying. Very satisfying that I completed the yagya. Yes, then it's a yagya. Then it's a sacrifice. Then it's like a yagya in the sense of an austerity. But yagya in the higher sense is just an utsav, is a celebration. It's a celebration. When the chanting of our rounds becomes a celebration, then we can understand that humility brings us to that point of starting to chant the holy name as a celebration, because there we can appreciate that we are insignificant. There we can appreciate that we need mercy. And there it is. There it is, that holy name that reaches out everywhere. Gayatri mantra, very nice, fully transcendental, came straight from the spiritual world. When Lord Brahma heard the sound of Krishna's flute, and then it came out of his mouth like Gayatri mantra. That's something, right? So all the Vedic mantras come from the mouth of Lord Brahma. So what mercy is there in the Gayatri mantra? But for the Gayatri mantra, there are so many qualifications needed. One has to be in the mode of goodness. My goodness. That's so easy, right? And so on. But the holy name doesn't matter. One can be in hell and chant the holy name. Right? Yagyas, tell Ramananda, in deserts you cannot perform yagyas. Just like Ramananda would be out of business. What's he gonna do? Yeah, that'll be a complication. But the holy name can be chanted anywhere, by anyone, anytime, doesn't matter, right? Whether people are sinful, whether people are mad, somehow or other, the holy name. There was one person who was in a psychiatric clinic, and he became attracted to the holy name, and after a while, everyone in the whole psychiatric clinic was chanting Hare Krishna, because they don't care about being crazy. Right? They're already crazy, right? So they didn't care about what people will think of them. So they were ready to be crazy, and they were ready for some mercy, because they were having a hard time. So yes, anything, yes, take that too. It was very nice, and sometimes we would get phone calls, and then we knew Bhakta Albert has been preaching. And we knew he has been preaching. That was very nice. Yes. Now the holy name reaches anywhere and everywhere. In Russia, the devotees thrown in the jail, and then Sannyas Das, Harikesha's disciple, who knew Morse code and took a spoon and start in Morse code tick the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra on the heating tubes, and then finally some response, tick 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 tick. What is that? Tick tick tick. It's the Maha Mantra. It must have taken a long time to painstakingly, very patiently ticking on the heating tubes. But the holy name spread through the whole jail, everywhere. It just caught on. So how amazing is, and how merciful is Krishna in the form of his name. No one is blocked. Anybody. Some people, when we come past with the Harinam, put their fingers in their ears. Then we know they've heard it. That's very good, right? Yes. Yes. It's hard to remain indifferent. It's hard to remain indifferent. We were in Paris, and I had a devotee with me who was a real good accordion player and did reggae rhythms, a la Prahlad on the accordion, right? But good. And so there was an area in the street in Paris, and a band had just performed there, and they were packing all their instruments, but the congas still stood there, and the drummer was also still sitting next to the congas. So the accordion player went up to the conga player, and he started doing his reggae rhythms. And then the conga player started doing reggae rhythms. Now, the police had sort of taped off the area, where the band was playing with that white, red plastic tape, And then there was one man, and he just walked, an old man with a sour face, and he walked right through the ribbon, right, and broke it. And I just saw this sour old man, and I turned around and I applauded him. I said, bravo, in French, bravo, bravo, yes. You are number one, I said, because it looked like he went through the finish line of a race, I said, you are number one. You won the race, you are the most sour man in the whole city of Paris, Bravo! I just told him, sour man. And he looks at me, and he says, singerie, which translates as monkey business, monkey business, monkey business. He had to diminish it. When we are not accepting the glories of Krishna or the glories of his name, then we have to diminish it. So we had to somehow or other, then we have to do the opposite of glorification. Right? Because otherwise, the glory of the name is acting. There's a festival that's joyful, but it's monkey business. So this is not a festival, this is monkey business, and it's not for human beings, behaving like animals and jumping around like that, monkey business. So, but that was a poor attempt, a poor attempt, yeah, because the monkey business had already touched his heart and had already affected him. And that is most wonderful, most wonderful. So the transcendental glories and the happiness are very potent. In South Africa, we have one devotee who is a big leader in the yatra. And prior to Krishna consciousness, he was a Christian missionary, something newborn, I'm not sure which Christian group, but some preaching Christian group. And you know how they preach, they always have a little leaflet, right? That's what it's about. And to put someone the leaflet in the hand, that is the strategy, right? So he had a whole stack of those things, and he came and he saw the Hare Krishnas. He thought, let me save those guys, Let me save those guys. So the devotee's in the middle of a kirtan, and he just walked right into the kirtan, holding out the leaflets, I mean, the devotees were just ecstatic in the kirtan, and nobody really paid attention. But at one point, one devotee goes, oh, what do you want? What do you want? Oh, you want me to take one of those? Yeah, sure. Take. And he took it, And I saved him. I saved him, And he walked away from there. I saved him, right? And then he thought, they really looked like they were having a lot of fun, actually, those guys. It really looked like they had a lot of fun. And that worked on him. It started to work in his consciousness. And over time, he thinks, actually, there's no fun in handing out these leaflets, right? And he realized that there was more fun in just jumping around, right? And in this way, he joined the Hare Krishna movement. So it's the happiness that will win. It is the happiness. It's the happiness that will conquer all directions in this movement. That is the secret. And then, as we're hearing more and more Pankajangri's stories, then we heard that Pankajangri came to New York, and he was walking in the street, and one man saw him in the street, and he said, you're so effulgent, you look so happy. I mean, it's just amazing, where are you getting this happiness? And then he said, can I hug you? And Pankajangri said, yes. And he hugged, and they hugged. This is what Prabhupada said. Preaching just means to show people how happy you are. And that way, Krishna consciousness will spread. Any questions, any comments?
this, Haribol, when you talked about this satisfaction that we get because we are about to finish the rounds, I feel sometimes it's only on a mind level. So, is this okay, or is this just temporary, or should we try to press it down?
Yeah, when we are experiencing that satisfaction upon finishing our rounds, it's good because we finished. We chanted 16 rounds, which is not nothing. It's very good. But there's more than that, obviously. I mean, it's a lower level of chanting. It's a higher level of chanting is like I explained, where we chant in gratitude, in appreciation, and therefore love will awaken in the heart as we're chanting, because we're appreciating Krishna is so nice, Krishna is so merciful, Krishna is just so attractive, Krishna has so many amazing qualities. Just look how he manifests his mercy, his love, and that he attracts us, right? And now let me make an offering to him and try to attract him. So that's a whole different level of chanting. And then, why do we have these counting beats, right? I mean, 20 beats on there, 16 for the 16 rounds, and 4 for doing 4 times 16 to make it 64, right? That's why there's 20. And so the 4 on one side and the 16 on the other. So why do we need beats to count to 16? You cannot count to 16? Is there anybody here who cannot count to 16? I mean, you really need like beats. It takes us back to primary school, the first year, when you go 2 beats plus 2 beats is 4 beats. 1, 2, 3, 4 beats, right? I mean, it takes us back to why do we need these counting beats? It's just just keep on chanting, right? And then just like as a round is done, pull it down. Don't worry about the number. Otherwise you start to meditate. Someone's on the number. Okay, so you can count in the mind, and I admit I do it many times. Yeah, many times I just I don't use the counting beats. I just count in my mind. Yeah, from where I am. But I thought about that, and the reason why we have them is to just get out of this mentality of like counting our rounds instead of chanting our rounds. Yeah, and let's just not count the rounds. Just chant the rounds and let the beats count the rounds. They count the rounds. So that we are not consciously counting the rounds. It's just the beats automatically, the counting beats are counting the rounds for us. See, and in this way we don't have to think about, okay, I've already got 10 done, yay. Oh. Yeah, so the higher level of chanting is where we want to go. Chant in happiness, appreciating Krishna's glories, a festival. So does Babaji. Said today we will have a festival because today is the disappearance of Sanatana Goswami. And the devotee said, oh yes, that is wonderful. And then it said like, but where are we going to get all the ingredients for the festival? And then Gaurakasodas Babaji said, oh, the ingredients of the festival are here. Yes. They are here. In the man, simply the beats. Other question? Akila Prabhu.
You made Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
You made this statement that preaching means to show people how happy we are. What if we are, have become depressed by so many problems around us in our mind, in our other devotees?
Yeah, when we have become depressed by so many problems around us, and then it will be a little more difficult to preach, right? Obviously, people, one can even preach when one is depressed, right? To the psychiatrist or something like that. No, there's always a way to preach, undoubtedly. But when we preach with happiness, then naturally people will be more inclined. If someone who is completely miserable says, "This is the way," you go like, "Well, I don't know. I'm not convinced for some reason." Right? When someone is like, when someone's very happy, they think, "Yeah, okay. What have you got to say? What's your secret? I want to hear it." So that's the point. But if a person is a devotee becomes depressed, then that devotee should take shelter. Because even if we have become depressed obviously one becomes depressed due to material attachments. Just like Arjuna was depressed. Right? He had material attachments. Asochan avasochastvam, this lamenting is not befitting a man of learning. You're mourning for what is not worthy of grief. So, what did Krishna do when Arjuna was depressed? The first thing he did is show him the bigger picture. Not the temporary world, but the eternal. So when we become depressed, we should start looking at the bigger picture. We should start focusing on the eternal. That's what the Bhagavad Gita, that's the solution Krishna gave Arjuna. Look at the eternal perspective and just focus your absorption in that, and then you can rise above this depression. Sometimes we feel, yes, but I'm not depressed because it's not that I don't have transcendental knowledge. I know that from the eternal. That's not where the problem is. The problem is I'm depressed because of my own failure in spiritual life. Because I failed. All right, granted, that is a cause for some depression, but one should know is that we are not the doer. And that we should understand, we are not the doer. We are not the one who are going to purify ourselves or are going to uplift ourselves. In Krishna consciousness, we are not the doer. When we turn to Krishna, the more we turn to Krishna, the more we become uplifted. So that is really the thing. The problem if we are thinking, because I am a failure in spiritual life and that's why I'm depressed. No, now the answer to that is become more absorbed in hearing, chanting, and serving Krishna, and that will lift us above that sense of failure. And there's also the 12th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, which is the chapter about failure. Right? If you cannot do this, then do that. If you cannot follow the rules and regulations, then you can work for me. Right? You can work for me. You can do some work for me. Like that there always is a solution. Krishna has always given us a path, so there's no need. Depressed means one becomes really depressed when you don't see a way out. That's when it gets bad. There is the black hole and there's just no way out of it. But when there's a way out, right, then depression can disappear. So it's very important to look at the way out. And Krishna gives a way out. If you can't follow everything, look at the 12th chapter of the Gita. And there Krishna says what to do. If you can't do this, then do that. So in this way, there is a way out. There is a way out of here. Said, anyway. As soon as I say that, I get a song of Jimi Hendrix in my head, which I'm not going to quote. Huh? You also. Yes, what to do. But it can be engaged in the service of Krishna. Hmm? Yeah, both have done, actually. There are two. Let's not go there. Sorry for opening that door. Yeah.
This understanding how we are not the doer, and then understanding things that happened in our life in the past. It seems, I mean, in one way, it's a freedom to think it's sad it happened, it's a shame if something bad happened, and seeing our part of it as being, our fault or the fault of being conditioned, and the conditioning creating the havoc or whatever.
Yeah, but when bad things have happened and we have and we feel that we have some responsibility in that, okay, I blew it because of my foolishness. That's all right, that's it's okay to mourn for a little while, but not too long, we can't live in the past. You have to move on. And it's very important to consciously say, no, I'm not going to stay in the past and dwell on something that went wrong. Now I'm going to make it right. I'm learning from this mistake, and now I'm going to make it right. Now I'm going to do something right. And I won't make this mistake again. Maybe I learned the hard way, but now I realize, one day, if I ever get round to it, I'm going to write a book called All in One Shot, right? And it's the story of being shot in the back. Now, the first chapter will describe very short and not so maybe some detail about being shot and this and that. And there's a story of the whole experience and so on. But the essence of the book is the internal effect it had on me, and how it affected me in so many ways. And there's so many aspects of realizations that I got from that one shot. That's why it should be called All in One Shot, right? So many realizations came from there. And in the same way, if you and in there and in the book, there will be a part where I have to ask the question, what did I do to bring this upon me? And then I can divide that up in two things. What did I do in previous lives? Right? Was I a gunslinger? Or what did I do in this life, in the way I was dealing with people, that it brought them to the point of doing this, even although the people that may have done this were nuts, right? Still, why did they do it to me and not to someone else? What was it in me that woke that up? I've thought about that for a long time, and I've tried to make changes after that. After I got some idea what it was, then I tried to make changes. Still trying, but hope I won't get shot again. Yeah. Yes.
Thanks, Maharaj, for this lecture. I have one question. You talked that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu worked as an acharya. And then this question coming up in me that, is it nowadays possible to follow all this, what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu teach us as acharya? Or
when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was acting as an acharya and he set the standards, he set many, many standards for this movement for generations to follow. Right? But we also get acharyas who come after Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And Krishna consciousness is practiced according to Kala Desa Patra, according to time, place, and circumstances. So the acharyas have the right to look at what did Chaitanya Mahaprabhu establish, and what can we follow now and what can we not follow now. So we can see that Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, and Srila Prabhupada, they are the three acharyas for preaching in the modern world. And they brought the teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to the modern world. And Bhaktivinoda was the inspiration, and then Bhaktisiddhanta, he started to build the bridge, you know. He built the bridge between tradition and modernity and the modern lifestyle, and start driving in a car and wear overcoat, and you know, and on the strength of that, we are using all this stuff, you know. On the strength of that, we have a phone. On the strength of that, we have computers. It's like we're living in the middle of all this, because otherwise, Rupa and Sanatan, they were very simple. Yeah? They were just living under trees, right? And a different tree every night. And they were like having like just simple cloth, very basic. So we see, when we look at Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we go back through the parampara. We don't go direct to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. We go through the acharyas, to the present acharyas, and then down. So if the present acharyas have made some adjustments or have changed the focus for various reasons. One, maybe some things are maybe too austere. Also, Prabhupada says, Kala Desa Patra, time, place, and circumstances. In Germany, you can't sleep on the floor because you're not in India, you know, where it's warm, right? When it's 40 degrees, you can sleep on the ground. You could, right? But in Germany, you know, yeah, you can do that as a young man, maybe, you know. And we used to do with sleeping bags on the floor, no mats, nothing, straight on the floor. And if you were not doing that, you were in Maya, you know. And that's how it was, right? And I am not doing good with cold from the ground, you know. And it goes, so I put my coat on the floor, you know, and so they're looking me at me, sense gratification, you know. And I go, yeah, but I was very determined, you know. It was too cold, right? I couldn't do it, yeah. So I put my coat, right? Yeah, and then yeah. I managed to survive with a good sleeping bag. So, Kala Desha Patra, Desha, different country, different circumstances, different time, right? A different time. So some things are adjustment for a time, and then also a different service, right? I can put all my energy on my focus on austerity, right? But then don't ask me to do 4 lectures in a day, yeah? You know what I'm saying? I only have so much energy. If I put it all in one direction, 4 lectures in a day, or like 8 hours of Sankirtan, right? Say, have a good night's sleep. Right? Have a good night's sleep. Sleep well, dream soft, but then are 8 hours on the street, or whatever, you know, however many hours are on the street. That's the point. So now we shift the focus where we put our austerity. Yeah, because it can't be austere all the time. Then the body just cracks. Right? Everyone needs to find a balance between some Yuktahara and Yukta Vihara. Yuktahara means to connect with the Lord, and Yukta Vihara means to relax also. You know, the body needs some relaxation, right? And when we're young, we say, this is all like, who needs to rest? You know what I mean? Yeah, a little bit of rest. You rest a bit and then you run again, right? That's it. I mean, when you jump out of bed and you hit the ground running. As you're older, it's like get out of the bed and do a few stretching exercises. It's like start the old machine up. Crack. Maybe rest a little, just to tank up some energy, because it's going to be a heavy day, like that. There's more need for being balanced. Both is there, yuktahar and yuktavihar. So Kaladesapatra, according to time, place, and circumstances. And so we're looking at Prabhupada in this regards. He set the standards for this movement. And then sometimes we ask our spiritual master, should I fast every Ekadasi? Completely, from water as well. Yeah, well, it's nice if you can, right? As a brahmachari, it would be nice if you can, but then you'll get weak, right? And then you'll be on the street, and then you say, oh, it's too austere. So then eat, right? Eat, drink, and be full of energy to give the mercy to more people. That's more important, right, than fasting. More important than fasting is to give out the mercy. So now our main focus is to give out the mercy, distribute it widely. And that is what Srila Prabhupada gave us, which he took, of course, from Lord Chaitanya, but now he gave it a shape. And we're just there, right? And Prabhupada's disciples helped. Buddhimanta invented the Sankirtan, the traveling Sankirtan. They had the books, and he was the first one who actually managed to distribute one, and became like one of the leaders in the beginning of book distribution. So, Vaisheshika now is the world Sankirtan leader, right? He said we used to climb over the wall, right, to get inside and distribute the books. He said now we go through the door. There are different approaches according to Kaladesapatra, but now the focus is preaching, very much so. Now Prabhupada started it up, this society, International Society for Krishna Consciousness, for preaching. That was his first and foremost meditation. Gaur Mohan.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you for this amazing lecture. And just had a thought, because we're speaking about Kaladesapatra, and last lecture you were speaking about Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu doing this drama. And then you mentioned that Srila Prabhupada said that...
Lord Chaitanya doing what?
A drama with, he was playing... I was Nanda Krishna. Okay, Nanda Krishna was talking about this drama of...
a drama.
Drama, yes.
I heard Brahma. I think Lord Chaitanya doing a Brahma. I think, what's he talking?
Drama. And then Ananda Krishna mentioned in there that a drama is a very intense form of Krishna Katha. And
yes.
And then nowadays we have dramas, but also there are movies. So how about movies? And isn't this a very intense way of preaching or teaching Krishna Katha?
Go for it. I mean, obviously, actors, right? Actors, they are deeply meditating. In Sweden, we have one devotee who's an actor, right? I mean, he's a professional actor, but he's a real devotee, and he plays Nityananda, and he plays a real good Nityananda, because I really liked his Nityananda, because usually if someone has to play Nityananda, then it's like, right? Play Nityananda. But when he plays Nityananda, he's sitting there, Very powerful. And he's trembling in ecstasy, you know? I mean, it's like trembling in ecstasy, and you see this like incredible, powerful Nityananda, and then he gave me a whole, just by him acting that way, he gave me a whole new perspective on Nityananda. I never thought of Nityananda in that way, but he did, you know, because he's an actor and he knows how to meditate and go into that mood, and he just brought out the mood. So actors it's very, Lord Chaitanya did it, Prabhupada did. Prabhupada played Advaita Acharya and practiced for a long time. The audience cried, right? And Prabhupada used to tell. Prabhupada started working on a Lord Chaitanya play with Hayagriva, See Conversations #1, like that. Yes, this is part of our tradition. And then movies. Look at Yadubar's movie on Prabhupada. It's amazing. It's just amazing. What a movie. Look at all his whatever he done. Wonderful.
I heard that Prabhupada also said they asked him if they should do a movie, and then he kind of declined or was not so enthusiastic.
About who? About himself?
No, just a Krishna movie and
a Krishna movie.
Yeah.
It depends who you are. It depends, obviously, who asks. You know what I mean. But as a whole, you can look in the Siksamrita letters. You know, like the book, and you can read there. And there's plenty of quotes where Prabhupada is talking about film. It's in the index. Film is mentioned as one of the preaching strategies there. So Prabhupada clearly has spoken about film as a media. So making videos is good. It's Krishna consciousness is what really does it, right? And all the digital stuff, is very ethereal. That's the problem with anything digital. It's there today and it's gone tomorrow. You know, so that's the downside. Videos, film, it disappears. Right? It disappears into cyberspace, or even ebooks. You know, ebooks don't match printed books somehow or other. Printed books have been tried and tested, and they stay for a long time. Ebooks, one day, what if the internet goes down one day? It's over, and it will all be gone. Imagine all your gigabytes that you have put there in the cloud. Gigabytes in the cloud, and then it will be gone. So, therefore, paper is still very good. So it doesn't replace books, but it adds to it. It adds to it. I have a whole collection of Krishna conscious movies, because I go long on flights, long flights to Australia or something like that, you know, then I watch a few Krishna conscious videos on the way. And so yeah, I have a collection of those things. There's a need in this movement and in the world for such videos. But not that we all stop distributing books and all start making videos now. No. It's for just a few people, not for everyone. Jadvaita Maharaj once said to me, and this was years ago, but he said if we would engage everyone according to their propensity in this movement, then we would have one big band with a few roadies. Okay, thank you very much.